Am I a soldier of the cross, a follower of the Lamb? And shall I fear to own his cause, or blush to speak his name? Shall I be carried to the skies on flowery beds of ease, whilst others fought to win the prize and sailed on bloody seas?
Hi, I'm Bob Quashis from Somos Republicans. Welcome to the Uncle Ed Show.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos al show del Uncle Ed. Yo soy Alejandro Ríos, el traductor.
We have Ivan, our special guest.
Ivan.
Ivan, I'm sorry.
Hoy tenemos a Iván, es nuestro invitado especial,
And our gracious host, Dave Leach.
el señor Dave Leach, nuestro auspiciador. Okay, take it away, Bob.
Okay, Dave, you had some questions for our special guest.
Ivan, how old are you?
I am 12 years old and I go to Amos High Middle School. so-
Amos Hyatt.
Oh, ¿cuántos años tienes, Iván? En español también, ¿no?
Yo tengo 12 años y voy en la escuela Amos High.
Okay. It's gonna be easy.
You're bilingual. Whoa.
Yeah.
I wish I were. Tell us, what's your picture of the immigration policy in America today?
Digamos, ¿cuál es, tú cómo ves las pólizas de inmigración aquí en Estados Unidos? ¿Ah? ¿No sabes qué son las pólizas? Como las noticias, todo lo que está pasando. ¿Tú qué piensas lo que has estado viendo? En inglés y español, no te preocupes.
Well, first of all, I think about it as like it's a good thing and also a bad thing, because like the good thing is that it helps like the U.S. with like getting all the people like out of like here for like that do drugs and stuff. And I think the bad thing is because some people just want a better life and like they just want to live to like have better life, because a lot of people over there have like children over there they need to feed, and yeah.
Okay, I guess what you mean is that it's our policy of trying to remove immigrants is good because it removes drug lords, but bad because it removes good people who just want to work hard.
Yep.
Así
Okay.
que, como dice el señor Dave, pues la póliza aquí es buena en parte porque se hace las personas criminales como los narcotraficantes, pero también es malo porque se hace las personas buenas que vienen aquí a trabajar para hacer algo bueno.
Do you think that it's necessary in order to remove drug lords to also remove hardworking people?
No, I do not. I think that the drug lords should like just go and like they should leave like the harmless people here, so they could live. Cause back in like down like Mexico and all beyond, like it's hard over there. Like a police officer I know like earns like 2 pesos like a day, which is not much.
2 pesos a day?
Yeah,
A police officer?
yeah.
How long have policemen been receiving those kinds of wages?
Frankly, I don't know.
Huh. Do you know, Alex?
The average salary for a cop down there depends what kind of cops, because there's different levels. Like here, I know about federales. They make about $400 a week, 4,000 pesos, I think, a week.
$40 a week. That's
No, $400 a week.
400.
Yeah, but those are
400 American dollars?
Yeah, 4,000 pesos. But those are like federales. I mean, they go to school, they have high training. Other cops, they make $200 a week. Depends what kind of cop you are. It really depends.
I'm going to translate.
Oh, me está diciendo aquí What are we trying to say?
What you just told us.
Oh, pues él está diciendo de los trabajos en México, por ejemplo, los policías allá ganan muy poco. Muchos policías, los federales son los que ganan más o menos $400 a la semana, 4,000 pesos. Depende del rango, ¿verdad? Hay unos que ganan mucho menos de $100, $200. Dave, what was your question earlier that you had for him? What was the question you had?
Well, he was made the startling statement that the policemen only get paid. What did you say?
Like
20 pesos?
220.
20 pesos a day. Well, that's only
20 cents.
Oh, that would be $2 a day, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, I was thinking wrong. Okay, yeah, that is common. $3 to $5 a day is a decent wage in much of Mexico, isn't it?
In a lot
Right.
of spots, yeah. Depends what kind of job. Some people make less than that, $80 a week.
Yeah.
Some people even less.
But that might not be so bad if you could make your 20 pesos a day and not get shot at when you go to collect your money. So, what do you know people who are here without authorization? Do you know what it's like for them?
I'm asking, ¿tú conoces a alguien que está aquí que no tenga autorización de estar aquí, o sea, sin papeles? ¿Sí conoces? Sí.
Without giving any names, can you tell me some of their stories?
Sin dar nombre, ¿nos puedes decir una de las historias?
Like Spanish, right?
Inglés, español, no hay bronca.
Like,
Tú digas las dos si quieres.
well, like their life is hard, just like always checking out for the police, like better not speed or like not do nothing hard, like they're like for a fact I know they're afraid to go to sleep in case like ice like knocks on their door and
Ice, meaning not ice that falls down out of the sky,
No.
but the
Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
yeah.
Okay.
Pues yo en español también, si
Mm. Yo sé que que las personas que no tienen papeles, como ellos siempre están mirando a los policías en caso si hacen algo malo.
quieres. O sea, a veces ellos están siempre alerta, ¿no? Cuando van manejando, se fijan de ¿cómo se llama? Del límite. Ver un policía y uno se pone nervioso también, ¿verdad? Cuando no tiene licencia de edad se pone nervioso. Y estás nomás ahí guachando, ¿no? Todo. Pero eso es bueno, ¿verdad? Obviamente los que cachan son los malos. De los que se descuidaron un poco. Yeah, I'm basically saying the same thing. Pretty much, people that are here undocumented, like a lot of people that I know, and myself, before I even had a work permit, it was pretty hard because you have to drive. And every time you see a cop, you're like, oh man, you just look out the rearview mirror and like, oh, I hope he doesn't pull me over. And you're just like praying and watch the speed limit all the time, and you're in constant fear of getting pulled over because you don't know what's going to happen.
Now, I'd like you to explain something for a lot of people that just don't understand. They haven't had these experiences, and they wonder, why don't these people, if it's so hard for them, why don't they just go back south? Explain why they don't go back south. Explain why they came here, the family ties, what faces them if they return, what they're leaving behind.
Ok, el señor Dave me acaba de decir que explique un poco más o menos de por qué estamos aquí nosotros, muchas personas indocumentadas, porque hay muchos comentarios de que por qué no se regresan para atrás si está tan dura la situación. Pues les voy a explicar un poco. You see, the thing is, when we come to this country, a lot of illegal persons like myself, the way I cross, it's interesting because my sister was 17 years old and she was a great athlete, She ran across the border with my mom, my uncle, my cousin. They ran across
Did you
the
say
border.
she was a great athlete?
Oh yeah, because I was 4 years old, about 35, 40 pounds, a little chunky kid. And she ran across the border with me. And a lot of things happened there. We got robbed the first time. We lost all our money, everything that we had. And we made it here because we're looking for a better life. The wages down there are awful. Not everybody has the opportunities we have in the U.S. And most people just want a better life for themselves. They want to get out of that poverty, of the opportunities that we don't have in Mexico. Like here, for example, a person has a car. Down there, not everybody has a car. People walk everywhere. The housings is way different. The wages are way different. And like I said, most people come here just to have a better life that they cannot find down there. Because after all, it is America the Great. Anything is possible.
You have anything to add, Yvonne?
Well, he said, and cause once you're here, it's like hard to cross. Like if you want to go back to visit, like it's gonna be really, really hard to cross again with all the laws they put now, and how secure they secure it now.
So in other words, people come here and stay here rather than go back or just work here and then go back home to their families. They bring their families here because it's not possible for them to go back and forth to their families.
Well, actually, Dave, let me tell you something about that. It's funny that you say that because a lot of the people, the original plans to come here, work, make money, save money, and go back home and start a business. That's what a lot of people think. But once they're here, they see how great it is, and it's easier for them. Sometimes, if they like, most of the times, they want to bring their family over here because it's way better, more security, and it's a nicer place to live. And that's when they end up bringing their family. But a lot of people do go back after they work hard, long hours, and sometimes they come back again.
All right, now you talk about the wages being not nearly as good and the houses not being nearly as good. Can you give give us some word pictures? Because otherwise people are going to think, well, they instead of getting $18 an hour, they're only getting $14 an hour. Instead of a 5-room house, they're only getting a 3-room house. Instead of a 40-inch screen, they're getting a 28-inch screen.
Probably less.
What?
Probably less. Everything you said, probably less.
Some people don't even have TVs down there.
So tell us, make it graphic.
All right. Well, a lot of parts of Mexico is considered a third world country because pretty much sometimes here we have a nice floor. People down there could expect their houses to be made out of cardboard.
Oh, did you say floor?
I'm sorry, the floor. The ground. I'm sorry, the ground. Here we have carpet. We have wood. Nice.
There they have dirt.
Great living. Down there, most of the people have dirt floors. Houses could be made out of mud. It could be made out of pretty much anything. Cardboard, sticks.
In other words, what we'd call a tree house.
Well, you would call camping sometimes on the weekends, but that is people's daily life down there.
Don't forget to translate.
And the wages, no, not at all. And the wages pretty much are awful. I know that people can work for 120 pesos a day, and you would think...
Translate.
120 pesos?
$10.20.
It'll be about $10.20, but you think right down here, you say, it's not so bad, right? Well, a day down there doesn't necessarily mean only 8 hours. It could mean from sunrise to sundown. It could be anywhere from 10, 14, 16-hour days, and you're making $10.20 an hour.
Now,
some people get lucky and make 20 bucks an hour. I mean, a day.
Now, a lot of prices there are a lot cheaper.
Well,
But for
not
wages.
not necessarily. I mean,
But-
for wages. I
but-
thought you
but-
meant everything
but-
else.
But certain, a lot of products, for example, hamburger, I think I heard was even more expensive than here.
Hamburger? It is. Considering, well, let's say McDonald's, they also have their dollar menu, but down there it's called their 10 peso menu. A burger is 10 pesos, but 10 pesos pretty much, if you look at it down, their way of looking at it is like $10 for them, because 10 pesos is it's still, you know, pretty good change. 10 pesos you can go buy some rice and beans and make a nice pot, but instead you can buy a hamburger. So yeah.
And I would add that compared to countries like Honduras, Mexico is actually a wealthy country.
That is true. A lot of countries in Central America, I know for experience, I know from people from El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, they have it even harder than Mexico because it's incredibly.
You know, the per capita annual income for a person in Honduras is only $1,100 per year.
$1,100
So it's
per year.
about, that's less than $100 per month.
Or about $3 a day.
Yeah.
But that's the average.
Right.
So
Some
what does
people
poor,
make
what do poor
less than
people
that.
make?
Poor people make substantially less than that.
Wow.
So in Honduras, for example, public school is only free public school is only through the 6th grade. Many school kids don't finish the 6th grade because typically their families can't afford school supplies. So for lack of pencils and erasers and basic school supplies, you have kids that are pulled out of public schools in the 2nd or 3rd grade.
Not only because of that, sometimes they also have to work, help out the family.
Yeah, they go to work so the younger kids can go to school, to buy school supplies for the younger kids. Just really extremely impoverished. So even with just the 6th grade education available, many don't finish the 6th grade. So it just creates that continuing cycle of poverty and ignorance. It's hard to climb out of that.
I was privileged to get a home show in Reynoso into 2 homes. One, we had an old treadle, meaning manual, sewing machine that were given to these people so they could maybe do some things and make a little money. We took it into this house that was built on for girders, for floor joists. It had 2x4s. Now I don't know if you know how much know about construction, but we're used to seeing. I mean, our floors up here are held up by 2 inches wide and about so deep. About this far apart. Now those 2x4s are about this high, this wide, and spaced about every 2 feet, or sometimes every 4 feet. And so and it was it was like a 1/2-inch plywood that you walked on.
Yep.
So you'd walk on it and worry about whether the next step you're going to go through. And you'd look over at the seams between the plywood and you'd look at the ground about 4 feet below that. They were on a steep hill.
Wow.
And only 1/3 of the house had a roof on it. And the roof, I mean, it was just all scrap sheets of cardboard and wood. And the one that had the roof on it, that was where the electricity was. They had a car battery. I don't know how they charged it. And a car battery operated a radio. And that was the electricity. And there was holes in the walls. The birds could fly in and out, not to mention the cold air. Now, but even those conditions are livable if the money would continue to trickle in that you could buy enough rice and beans. But it's not that steady, is it? That's the home of someone who has a steady job. And if they lose their job, they don't get food stamps down there.
There is no safety net.
Not at all.
What about the security down there?
Security, there's actually no security down there. It's pretty much a day-to-day thing. See what happens. And just hope you keep your job and make money.
That cannot be good for the economy,
No, not at all.
to be in a continual war zone.
Well, it's not all of Mexico the war zone. It seems to be concentrated in certain areas where the drug traffickers are. But overall, for example, Ciudad de Juarez, for example, the crime rate is just astronomical.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot of murders. It's one of the most dangerous places in the Western Hemisphere.
I
In
think
other
it
parts
was-
of Mexico, you don't see that.
Ciudad Juarez was named the world's what's it called? Dangerous city to be.
Most dangerous city.
Most dangerous city in the world.
Which
Yeah.
city?
Ciudad de
Ciudad Juarez.
Juarez.
Oh.
It's right across the river from El Paso, which is the safest large city in America.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Really.
That's
Paso,
true.
the safest largest city in
I've been
America.
forgetting to translate.
Oh no, it's fine. I think we'll be okay on this show.
Think so?
Oh yeah, I think this one's
Joe, I saw some crime statistics. But overall, Mexico has a higher murder rate than the U.S. Washington, D.C.'s murder rate is 3 times that of Mexico. And New Orleans' murder rate is 6 times that of Mexico. So it's like everywhere else. It depends on where you go. I mean, it's not the whole country is unsafe, but it tends to be concentrated where,
certain areas.
where there's a lot of narco trafficker activity and, infighting and so forth. But when you have people that say, well, we're afraid to go to Mexico, then ask them, well, are you afraid to go to Washington, D.C.? Or are you afraid to go to New Orleans? Because those 2 cities actually have higher murder rates than the average is for Mexico.
I don't want to go to New Orleans.
I went to college there, so
Did you really?
yeah. That's
Oh.
where I got my undergraduate degrees in New Orleans.
Was it dangerous then too?
It depended on what part of town you went to. Where I was at on campus, it was safe, but if you went to the housing projects, you might not come out. So it's the same everywhere. So you can't really make a general characterization of crime rates. You have to be very specific.
As much as you can about the economy.
Right, exactly. So it's just a lot of misinformation out there. But a lot of places in Mexico are actually fairly safe, from what I understand.
Oh, definitely, and it's like everything. I mean, there are nice areas in Mexico too. There's wealthy people as well, just like here. But it's mostly, like I said, the opportunity is not as great as in America, where everybody has a chance, a shot. If you're a hard worker, you're not lazy, you're gonna have a shot to do something. Unfortunately, down there, there's a lot of hardworking people that, no matter what they do, they cannot get ahead of life because the opportunity is not there. That's the thing.
You know, the opportunity, it seems like the worst problem is the Mexican government, because that's what regulates opportunity. And when you have government officials governing by taking bribes, there's not. How can there be any job security, any chance to move ahead on the basis of your skills? You're not motivated to become an asset to everybody else, provide services. You're motivated to find out who to bribe and how much.
Yeah.
And that's kind of fed this whole crime spree that's it's just kind of the foundation for takeover by the narcos.
In Honduras, for example, the policemen's wages are so low they can barely feed themselves and their families based on what they're paid. So they actually depend on bribes, from motorists and so forth, in order to feed themselves. So that's a part of this problem too, is when you've got public employees that are paid so poorly they can barely make a living. That the opportunities there, I'm sure the narco traffickers offer
Way better
plenty of
wages.
money. Exactly.
So now let's talk about what the U.S. immigration policy is going to contribute to these problems.
What are they doing? They're just sending people back to hell. to their own
Much.
health. Yeah.
Well, they're ripping families apart.
And also, what's doing to U.S. citizens? What kind of missed opportunities is America suffering as a result of sending the best qualified immigrants anyone could ask for in the whole world away?
First of all, you know, some Americans like to eat Mexican food, and
Yeah.
that would be a major part. No.
They'll miss out on a lot of Mexican. I don't think so. The recipes are here.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but there's a good point because gringos simply do not know how long to refry their beans.
They can burn it. Well, something me and Bob have talked about is, I mean, I believe this country is the greatest in the world. I mean, it's shown. It's one of the greatest country, and all these laws are doing is setting back, putting back. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Putting American setback when we can use this workforce, because we can actually become a greater nation than what we already are if we work together instead of dividing our country, our house, the United States.
Mhm.
If we all work together, we can make this the super greatest country of the world. If we all work together and focus on what we have to do right now at the economy. What do you think,
Agree.
Dave?
Absolutely, I agree. It's time to stop dividing us and work on solutions.
Definitely.
It's not helping anyone.
We
It's ripping
understand.
families apart. It's ensuring that many companies have trouble getting the types of workers that they need.
And like Bob said, the free market should determine the immigrants that are needed. And like everything, I know they say, well, you know, these immigrants are here committing crimes, doing this, you know, all the bad things. But it's just like everything. I'm pretty sure Americans, Mexicans, you know, anybody has their bad apples. Everybody has their bad apples. And if they want, you know, I understand if they want to get rid of the bad apples, but they should leave the good fruit in here.
Well, statistics show that immigrants actually have lower crime rates, lower incarceration rates. So a lot of that is a myth, but as you say, with any large group, there's always going to be people within that group. who
And it's
are-
like you said, it depends
bad
where you go.
apples.
Probably I'm sorry, California,
Mhm.
LA. Probably have a lot of Hispanics in their jails. Because I mean, it's California. I mean, everybody goes through there. That's where we migrated in the beginning. We were in California and LA for 9 years.
40% of California's prison population is Latino, so it's 40% of California's population overall.
So Yvonne, I'm curious, you're a citizen, you're born here, right? And you look a little Mexican, so the question is, have you suffered discrimination? People thinking that you're here illegally?
I actually have.
And,
Like, it hurts a lot, you know. Just like thinking of your parents. Like when someone calls you that, like you just want to defend yourself, you know. Like you say it's true, but like, I can't do nothing because like I just can't do nothing because
Just makes it things worse.
yeah.
it looks like it makes you mad,
Yeah, it does.
but you never show it.
No. Oh, sure.
You do show it sometimes?
Yeah.
But you have to restrain yourself
Yeah.
a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
So, have you known kids your age that have parents that aren't authorized?
Actually, yes, I do.
What's it like for them?
Like, it's hard, cause one just keeping track of when are they gonna come, and
They're just being scared, right, of
Yeah.
something that happened to them.
like if you do something wrong at school, and their parents are undocumented, like it's gonna have a big effect with their parents because they're not undocumented, and like if they do something real dumb at school, like say get in a fight, some kid, like it'll have a major effect with their life and parents.
You mean because then the school would call the parents to try and resolve the fight, and,
Yeah.
and then they
Usually
start
the
looking
police
at
is
the
involved.
parents?
Yeah.
It's that whole fear factor then.
So, you
Oh.
think,
Yeah, I wanted to add something to that. One of our directors in a western state has been involved in helping the immigrant community. And she actually got a frantic call from a mother who had been picked up by ICE. Both parents had been picked up and detained by ICE. But her 2 young U.S. citizen children were left in the house alone. They made no arrangements whatsoever to look after these kids. So this other leader of Somos Republicans, she drove 4 hours to that house to take care of those 2 kids who were basically, their parents were taken away and these young kids were left home alone, just hysterical. And if you can imagine that, I mean, just leaving young kids like that.
Wow, isn't there like a case against that?
No, apparently this happens. So she drove 4 hours to look after these kids, and it was just it was an extremely stressful situation for all of them.
Where was this at? What state?
In Utah.
Utah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
At least
sometimes when these families ripped apart, it's very, very inhumane. I mean, young children are deprived of their parents.
now, when parents treat children like that, they're prosecuted by the state.
DHS steps in, right?
So,
Yeah.
so who prosecutes the state when the state treats children like that?
Nobody.
Yeah, that should be a case, I think. That should definitely be a case.
Yeah, I've heard of cases where police have taken drivers away and just left young kids on the side of the road, you know, without doing anything, like calling social services or making arrangements. This happened in Arizona, I know for a fact.
Hmm.
Yeah, police stop a driver for some minor offense and then determine the driver is undocumented. They take the driver away and they leave the kids on the side of the road. You know, there's nobody to look after them. It's just really, it's very inhuman to do that. So this whole system just rips families apart. That's why it's really important to solve it. I mean, just enforcement only is not going to solve the problem. The system itself is broken. And has been for some time. Congress has got to deal with it. The states can't fix the problem.
You know, from the perspective of citizens, this is just a time bomb because the Hispanic population is growing,
Yeah.
and kids that are going through this are going to be voters, and they're going to control the retirement of gringos at a time when Social Security is going to run out. And so, like, by the time you're 20, you're going to have to vote on what to do when there's 2 old gringos that wouldn't let your friends come here legally, that want you to pay for their retirement, and there's not enough money, and you can't afford to pay for them, and you're going to wonder, well, where's all that money going to come from for their comfortable retirement? And it's going to occur to you, you're going to think, you know what, we could ship them all to Mexico and give them $2 a day to live off of and solve our problem.
No. Well,
You wouldn't do that to us?
no, it's too harsh. Like if
They don't want it for nobody.
like if they're harsh to us, we'll just try to be kind and not be harsher. So, you know.
You could give us $10 a day, and we'd have 10 times as much money in the Social Security Fund. 100 times as much.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point you make. That's true, because a lot of these kids are gonna be the borders of the future, and they're gonna see all that bad that's going on, and most likely a lot of people are gonna be out of a job soon. I think actually we have the numbers. The thing is, like I told you, Dave, a lot of people just don't have it in them to go and vote. Some people have the citizenship and they haven't even voted ever since they were 18. I know tons of my friends that are 25 years old that can vote and never vote on anything. We need to just get these people to help us out, wake them up, and take them out to the caucuses. Hopefully, me and Bob are working on this project soon, and we're gonna get the ball rolling, so a lot of this stuff can stop happening.
I got some questions about EFE. That's the Latino version of the Associated Press that supplies news stories to Latino newspapers. Now, I don't obviously read very much Spanish, so I just have impressions. I just look through it and try and figure out what the topic is. But it seems to me that does EFE provide any information about Iowa legislation?
I have no clue. Can I see that? What's that about?
Oh, this is my notes.
Oh, from EFE? Oh, I thought it was the EFE headlines.
Oh,
They
no.
cover nationwide, so I know, for example, they've written stories about Nebraska. So if there was something newsworthy in Iowa and they became aware of it, they probably would write a news story.
One thing I think they wrote about is they put like a new, like I read it, and like they wrote about like they put a new like immigration office in Urbandale.
That's right, EFE wrote about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good point. They were trying to put our immigration. We talked about this in the last show.
Urbandale, yeah.
Yeah, Urbandale. They shut them down. Urbandale did.
The planning board turned them down. They were going to convert a warehouse into an immigration office, I think it was.
do they ever include information in their articles about who to write to, who to call in order to stop some of this craziness?
I haven't seen any on that actually.
No, they're more interested in just reporting the news and
Letting
sell
people know.
newspapers.
Now, of course, the Associated Press doesn't do that either, and their the theory is, well, our news is objective.
Right, they're supposed to capture both sides of the story.
Yeah. So, and also they try to put everything in 500 words, and so there's no possibility of really explaining an issue in depth or giving you enough information to actually do something about it. So, in other words, it's written as if they're assuming that their readers don't care about actually correcting the problems. They just want to be they just want to grumble, know what to grumble about this week, and be entertained by having someone else to blame for your problems.
I mean, they're getting the news out, and I think it's the public's responsibility to find out what we can do.
Say that again.
I mean, they're getting the news out, and I think it's up to us to do something about it.
I don't think that the average
But a lot of people don't know what to do.
citizen-
Exactly.
I don't think the average citizen knows how to. I mean, if you have an article about a problem bill, and maybe not even a bill number, where does the average citizen know how to go to get that information and find out who to call and find out which legislators have which opinions about it, or which ones are the ones that especially need the call? They can't figure that out unless they're organized, and if citizens have that much ignorance, I can't imagine that Latinos, many of whom are not citizens, can can know what to do
Exactly.
without having information.
That's true. I mean, I didn't even know what to do. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. That's where organizations like Somos Republicans can help out. So we can inform people how to lobby the legislators, for example, against these two bills coming up in the Iowa legislature.
And another thing I'm curious about EFE, do they ever really explain, I mean, they'll have an article about something that's terrible. Do they ever get down and really explain what makes it terrible? Or do they just assume that their readers already understand? And specifically, do they equip readers to explain what's terrible about it to lawmakers and to gringos, to their friends, and so that they can persuade? Do you ever see that in an EFE article?
I haven't seen that. That's something good to write about, though. Definitely. Maybe we should send a letter to the editor about that.
I doubt if it's possible for EFE to change. They got a template that all news agencies follow.
Well, they're basically a subscription service. Newspapers subscribe to their service. And any stories that they write, newspapers can put in their own newspapers with giving credit to the EFE. That's their business model. The Associated Press is the same thing.
Well, Bob, should we have some news?
Yeah, it's been a lot of news from Arizona. There's a very nasty bill that was pushed through committee by Russell Pierce. It basically denies any sort of license to any undocumented immigrant. It makes it a crime for undocumented immigrants to drive a car or to drive a vehicle in Arizona. If the police catch them, the police can not only arrest them, but they can seize the vehicle and sell it and use the funds to finance more law enforcement by police. There's also part of that same bill requires that when parents enroll their kids in public schools, they have to prove their citizenship or legal status within 30 days, and if they don't, the schools are required to turn them into immigration. Or turn them over for immigration enforcement, or ICE.
Russell Pierce, that's the guy that we have the Somos Republicans has the recall petition out. What's the count? Then you'd say 7,500 petition signatures. How many do they have now?
Don't know the exact number. I know it's coming along.
You have an
I don't
idea?
have an exact count. No.
You think you're halfway there yet?
Probably halfway.
And after how much time what has it been
I think
now?
it started about 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks.
About 3
In 3
weeks.
weeks, you got halfway through, and you got what, 9 months in order to get
3
it done?
months.
3 months?
Yeah.
3 months.
And we're not having trouble finding volunteers, particularly when we ask Latinos, hey, would you sign this petition to recall Russell Pierce? They say, give me some of those. I want to go collect signatures too. Because Russell Pierce is not well liked among Latinos in his district because of his extreme positions and rhetoric. And this latest bill is flagrantly unconstitutional. It won't stand up in court. But yet he forced it through committee. There's 2 Republican senators on that committee who normally are loyal to him. They actually voted against it. It passed committee by only 1 vote. So it's not for sure that it will pass the full Arizona Senate. There's something else that's
Even though Russell Pierce is president of the Senate.
That's right. Even though he's president, a lot of the Republicans are not. They don't go along with this either. So his birthright bills were also pushed through that same committee. But the first committee where the birthright bills were considered, it became obvious they didn't have the votes. So they pulled it out of that committee, and then Russell Pierce moved them to a different committee. and that committee on Tuesday passed both of the birthright bills and passed this omnibus immigration bill, and they're considering another bill which I think they'll be voting on shortly that will require hospital employees to check immigration status of all patients. And non-emergency patients, they have to check them before they even treat them. Emergency patients, they treat them first, and then as soon as their treatment is done, then they check their immigration status. And if they're undocumented, they have to turn them into ICE. So now they're going to have schools turning in undocumented students, we're going to have hospitals turning in undocumented patients. Deny any sort of licenses. You know, if an undocumented immigrant applies for a marriage license, they won't be able to get one under Arizona law.
So basically, everybody's going to become an agent for ICE.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
Yeah.
For immigration.
Now, all of that, there'd be a lot of people thinking, well, that's good. They're doing it to those people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my thought, of course, is how is this going to be confined to those people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Can you comment on the prospect that these
Well, everybody loses. Another bill that was passed was to cancel Medicaid for the state of Arizona. Well, you have a lot of people that aren't able to, you know, like elderly, for example. They depend on Medicaid. You know, if they're poor, you know, or somebody has like chronic health conditions, they can't work, they don't have any income, they depend on Medicaid to help them out. It's basically welfare, but it's health insurance for people on welfare. Well, that same committee just voted to cancel Medicaid. So there's a huge number of people in Arizona now that won't have any kind of health insurance. So it's just really damaging the economy in that state.
Yeah. So you said the numbers was $140 million they've lost since SB 1070?
I saw a projection that for this year, Arizona will, in tourism alone, will lose $500 million.
$500 million.
$500 million.
Wow.
So the losses are huge. It's not doing Arizona any good. It's fueling hatred and division.
Do you think they could say, we're sorry, come back?
Like they say, there's
It's a little late now, huh?
Yeah,
like for every action there's a reaction. And
exactly. And the unintended consequences are not very good.
Then go back to the my concern about it, the danger to citizens from these bills. How are they checking to see if people are documented? Is it the usual process where they ask ICE, and then ICE goes to the Social Security database that has the 12 million no-match errors regarding citizens, and then if the citizen comes up that they can't prove from the database that you're a citizen, then you have to spend last heard was 499-day wait before you can correct your records in the Social Security database about you with the Social Security Administrative Law Judge. Is that the process we're talking about here?
Well, they're going to depend on hospital employees and public school employees to interpret someone's immigration documents. But yet they're not going to give them any training. They're not going to give them any training. And,
Wow.
so you know what's going to happen. They're going to make a lot of mistakes. So people, for example, people who are adjusting status typically quite often have expired visas while they're waiting for...
Or how about just plain citizens that don't happen to have a copy of their birth certificate handy?
Yeah, that happens too.
Or that got married.
The
and
courthouse
changed-
burned down. That's happened before.
Oh,
where
yeah.
You've got citizens who can't get a birth certificate because
Or they
the
got
original
married.
burned down with a courthouse.
Got married, changed their name, didn't notify the IRS of the name change, and they can't, they don't know how to prove it. Parents have died, they can't bring them in for interviews.
It happens.
Yes, it's getting pretty extreme in Arizona. And the latest antic that's going on is Russell Pierce has been banning his critics from entering the Capitol building. Just yesterday, one of his critics entered the Capitol building to get some forms to conduct a protest, and he was immediately told by police, "You're not allowed in the building." I said, "Well, what do you mean I'm not allowed in the building?" He says, "You're not allowed in the building." And he started to question that and asked for some documentation, and they arrested him, took him to the jail. You know, for entering the building when he's banned. Apparently, Russell Pierce doesn't want his critics coming to hearings anymore. Because there was a large crowd at the hearing on Tuesday.
You know, I just can't help but think that it's like in the Bible where it says that the devil is cast out of heaven, and then he comes a rampaging on the earth because he knows his time is short. I mean, Russell Pierce is facing a recall election.
Yeah.
He's got to think, he's got to be fearful that his time may be short. And he's on a rampage.
It could be, but what he's actually doing, he's reinforcing that perception that he does not respect the Constitution. Because people have a right to, I mean, it's in the Constitution, people have a right to petition for redress of grievances. They have a right of free speech, they have a right to peacefully assemble. And he's seeking to deny those rights to people who are his critics. He wants to pick and choose who has constitutional rights and who doesn't. And so he's acting like a dictator.
What other news comes out of anywhere?
Montana. You recall Somos Republicans criticized the legislator who was using the term anchor baby, and he got into the news media. Well, both of his bills, one was a birthright bill, one was an Arizona style enforcement bill. Both of them were tabled in committee and probably dead. So another little victory there. So, and that's kind of the main news. By next show, we should have a 12-point immigration reform plan released that we can talk about.
Well, that brings me, has there been any word from DD about whether there's any receptivity to my concern that there be in this 12-point plan the agenda of repealing numerical limitations?
Well, wait and see the plan. Right now it's not finished. There's being some final changes being made. So it'll be a comprehensive plan. It'll be a total reform. It won't leave any area of immigration policy untouched.
You don't think it'll leave that untouched?
There'll be changes there. Not sure we'll see a repeal of quotas, though. So the plan is also written in line in terms of what's actually achievable. The idea is to develop a practical plan that will go through Congress that will resolve many of these issues.
I think the weakness of putting out an agenda which you regard as achievable, the weakness of that approach is you don't give people a vision.
Mm-hmm.
If there's actually a complete solution which you're not articulating, then you lead people to think, well, some of this chaos is justified because there isn't a solution.
Yep.
If we try and be good to this group, it'll be hard on this other group. If we try to be nice to illegals, we will be hard on citizens. We'll take away their wages, increase the population, do everything else you can, all these myths that you can blame it on, but only be articulating a vision, a real solution. Is there any hope of ever getting there?
Yeah, we think so. And stay tuned. It's almost done. It's going through some final edits. So it should be out shortly. Probably by the next show we should have it
Okay.
available to talk about. So stay tuned. So I don't know of any other big news. Most of it's been, well, there was one other piece of news. The Arizona-style bill was passed by the Utah House by a margin of nearly 4-1. Apparently the Tea Parties came out in force and just inundated the legislators with phone calls and emails demanding they pass this bill.
Well, which bill again?
It's an Arizona-style enforcement bill in Utah.
Oh,
It's passed the Utah House. It's now gone to the Utah Senate.
well, that's the Utah is where they pioneered the
Utah Compact.
yeah, that was.
So we think they made an especially intense effort there because of the Utah Compact. I think they wanted to defeat that. And so I think a lot of resources went into passing that bill in Utah. It's not an exact copy of the Arizona law, but it has many of the same elements, including the ones that judges already found to be unconstitutional. So they're in most of these other bills anyway, even though the judges already said they were likely unconstitutional. They still keep popping up everywhere. But that's the way it goes. And March 2nd, I'll be in Nebraska. I'll be testifying against the Nebraska's version of the Arizona bill, as well as the Nebraska Compact. The two are going to be considered at the same time in committee. And I will be one of the people testifying there on March 2nd. That should be interesting. It's available, by the way, all the committee hearings in Nebraska are available through online streaming from NET, which is Nebraska Educational Television. So we'll put the details out before that. It'll be March the 2nd at 1:30 in the afternoon with the Judiciary Committee. Actually, if you go to the Capitol website, you can actually find links to the online streaming for committee hearings. So 1:30 on March the 2nd, Judiciary Committee. So it should be interesting. I have a hunch that Mr. Chris Kovac of FAIR will be there, testifying in favor of the bill. So it might be my first head-to-head confrontation with Chris Kovac.
Wow.
It'll be interesting.
Wish you could make a video of it. Did you say it is going to be videoed?
Will be available through online streaming. You can go on the internet and watch it from anywhere.
At any time afterwards, you think?
No, I don't think they archive it, but it is available when it's actually running.
I'd like to,
online streaming.
I'd like to know the link.
I can send you a link.
Okay.
But if you go to the Nebraska legislature, I believe they provide links there. And Nebraska Educational TV, NET, they have information too. They provide all the videotaping.
I want to say, I want to have a little bit of encouragement, hopefully, for children like Yvonne here. Luke 11:46 says, "Woe unto you, ye lawyers, for you lay burdens upon men's shoulders, which you will not touch with one of your fingers." Now, that is what my fellow moral conservative Republican friends have done to people from south of the border. And when you see it, when you meet a child face to face who's suffering this and bearing burdens which no child should have to face, you certainly want to put a stop to it, and you should want to put a stop to it. But for the children going through this, there's some encouragement. If you can face it with God, it can make you stronger. The people of Israel went through horrible slavery. And it's what it took before they were ready to be free. And to go out trusting God to fight terrible enemies. I can't remember how many battles it was. Moses, in the desert, had defeated about 30 nations. I don't remember the figure, but it was a lot of nations, a lot of wars he fought. And the people just weren't ready to do that before going through slavery and finding out what real mistreatment was like and how difficult it is to survive all of that without God. And so I think Latinos have a bright future. And I hope they really are ready for freedom. I hope they really You know, when Moses first offered them freedom, he did it by killing an Egyptian guard. And the people weren't ready then. Instead of saying, wow, do you know what just happened? The Pharaoh's son, the next Pharaoh, is on our side. He knows all the troops. He knows all the commanders. He knows where all the ammunition is stored. If we're ready to revolt, he is the man to guide us. They didn't say that. They said, they spread the rumor. Oh, Moses, he broke the law. And Moses had to flee, and God wasn't ready to bring him back and set him free for another 40 years of slavery. So it could go either way for the Latino population, and I hope they're ready. It's up to you to lead them.